When you think of fossils, you think of a colossal T-Rex with an entirely complete skeleton. Well, unfortunately, that's not really the truth behind fossils. For the most part, fossils are extremely fragmentary, rarely ever representing an entire skeleton. In fact, most fossils you find are rarely even complete single bones. A great example is the most complete hominins, which are close relatives of humans. Despite the fact that they're the most complete skeletons we have, they're still largely fragmentary. However, it just goes even more downhill from here, with a group called Denisovans, a close relative to modern humans, known from only one pinky bone and three molars. This trend is seen in a lot of animals as well, not just humans. A good example is sharks. Sharks are primarily made out of cartilage, which is the same material your nose is made from. The material rarely ever fossilizes, causing the vast majority of shark fossils to be just their teeth. Even these teeth are often fragmentary, as shown by a fossil in my collection. This might lead you to wonder how fossils are formed in the first place. Fossils form in extremely particular conditions. An animal must die and then almost immediately be completely covered in sediment that allows no oxygen to seep through. That in itself is quite the feat, however this is just the beginning. For a fossil form, it must also be in a sediment that has the correct conditions for fossil formation. A soil that is too acidic, such as those in the rainforest, rarely ever contain fossils. Once a suitable sediment is randomly found, then a fossil must slowly be covered by sediment for millions of years until eventually the sediment is eroded away in just the right place for us to be able to see the fossil. Most fossils on Earth are just too deep in the ground to be discovered. Finally, after an extensive string of events, a fossil must be recovered, which is hefty work that can take years. Even after all this work, the majority of fossils are still fragmentary at best. Only in a handful of cases do we find perfectly articulated fossils. Most of the time, paleontologists are forced to put a picture together from pieces in bilateral symmetry, which means that if you have one arm of the animal, you know exactly what the other arm must look like. Paleontologists use phylogenetics to determine an animal's unknown characteristics in order to see what the creature might have looked like, even without having its entire remains. This process is actually extremely complex and can be interpreted differently depending on the paleontologist and what they think the morphology fits. It's important to note that fossils are inherently random chance based, meaning that everything has to go perfectly just to have a nice fossil. With this being the case, gaps are certain to exist. In fact, we have a name for this sudden disappearance of a fossil group just for it to re-emerge later. This phenomenon is called Lazarus taxa. These massive gaps can happen for a variety of reasons. Glaciers can cut through rock, destroying the layers of fossils forever. Layers are built up for millions of years on top of the fossils, making it impossible for us to reach them. And sometimes fossils never form because the conditions just aren't perfect. Whatever our particular case, the truth remains the same. We can't know everything about the past. It's impossible. Donald Prothero suggests in his book that we likely only know about less than 1% of all species that have ever existed, meaning we don't know about more than 99% of the Earth's biological history. This eventually led me to ask Callie Moore, a collections manager at the University of Montana, about these gaps. I asked her a simple question: how do these gaps happen? She reaffirmed that Lazarus taxa can come about for a variety of reasons. Take the now infamous coelacanth. These bony fish were thought to have gone extinct 66 million years ago along with the dinosaurs, yet they are found to still be alive today. This is because these animals live in deep oceans. In this environment, fossils rarely ever form, but it's an environment that they prefer, meaning that the conditions for fossils to occur rarely ever do, especially in this case. She went on to describe what scientists believed was once the Cambrian extinction, an event where suddenly many species disappeared from the fossil record all at once. It was later found that these species hadn't gone extinct at all, due to a new fossil location being found. In fact, the entire extinction never even happened. It was just a product of poor fossilization. Even though we will never know about everything that's ever existed, we are still lucky to know what we do about the ancient history of Earth. We still have billions of fossils, and we can learn a lot about studying them. Some fossils have been able to tell us what color some animals were, or what their skin looked like, and even sequence the genetic code for some animals. They taught us everything that we know about the ancient past. Without the fossil record, we're completely clueless. That's why studying it is so important. We know more about the phenomenon like climate change through geologic and fossil history than anything else. The study of ancient climate and its impacts historically are becoming increasingly important for the general public to understand, especially in terms of helping modern day animals. We can use fossils and ancient remains to tell us the reaches of extant species in order to return the planet to its pre-human condition. Our most important tool is education. Educating people on ancient creatures is important. It helps us to learn more and more about the history of our planet and even make predictions about the future. Thank you.